The president's budget proposal for 2017 would dramatically reshape the federal IT landscape. It would invest more in cybersecurity, research and development, as well as personnel, and it would replace legacy IT. We have a lot of ground to cover, and for analysis, I'm joined now by Molly Bernhart Walker, executive editor for Fierce Markets, and Greg Otto, technology editor for FedScoop. Thank you both for being here. Molly, let's start with a little bit of a state of the state for federal IT. Legacy systems, as they're often called, are a huge drain on the budget. How much does government spend on outdated IT, and how would this proposal by the president tilt the scales?
So by some estimates, the government spends about $60 billion annually on legacy IT. Legacy IT still looms pretty large in this budget request. The budget is asking, or the president is asking for $52 billion in civilian IT. 70% of that is still going to go toward legacy. But the big differentiator in this budget is that it sets up an IT modernization fund to be run by the General Services Administration. And that would kind of give agencies an avenue to get out of this legacy spending rut.
The president, Greg, also wants to spend more on federal IT. His proposal calls for nearly $90 billion, a 1.3% increase over his 2016 request. How would that be spent?
I think that you're going to see it spent in a lot of different ways. Again, like Molly was saying, you're going to see a good chunk of it go into the legacy IT. There is still a lot of upkeep that needs to go into these systems, but you're also going to see an increase in what the government calls provision services, which is more cloud-based applications, and you're going to see the cloud become a part of the application layer and also part of the infrastructure layer. A lot of agencies are trying to get out of managing their own data centers. They are giving them off to the IBMs, the Amazons, the Microsofts of the world in order for them to concentrate on mission-based systems.
The General Services Administration plays a central role in this discussion. It's the agency purchasing a lot of this technology. Molly, GSA opened the doors of its acquisition gateway to the public this week. Do you think the timing was simply a coincidence?
I think it was actually a little bit of a coincidence in this situation. You know, they mentioned the acquisition gateway a little bit in their budget briefing, and it definitely is part of the budget, but actually the doors have been opened for the acquisition community, for the contracting officers, since October. October 1st, about 5,000 contracting officers across government got to start using it. So this was just the ability for the public to kind of get a glimpse into what the platform does.
What about you, Greg? What did you make of that timing?
I don't think it's as much of a coincidence. I think that there have been plans to reform the way the government acquires federal IT, and these discussions have been going on for some time. So I really think that the GSA, OMB, everybody is really on the same page about trying to get agencies to buy into more modern technology.
Amidst all the budget hoopla, President Obama rolled out a pair of executive orders. Let's start with the Commission on Enhancing National Cybersecurity. Greg, what's this all about?
Yeah, so this executive order, the president is going to have 12 experts form a panel this panel is going to look at new and novel ways they can enhance cybersecurity in both the public sector and the private sector. So not only are you going to see a government IT angle, you're going to see some work being done that is going to go into public advocacy campaigns that the general public is going to be a part of. This commission is going to work throughout the year. They do not have the deadline that they have to work with is they will give a report to the president on December 1st, and then that report will go public 45 days afterwards, which is interesting because if that report goes public 45 days after December 1st, you're talking around the time that there is an inauguration next year. So it's really interesting to see how that report will factor into what a new administration is going to do.
The second executive order establishes a federal privacy council. What do we know about this, Molly?
Well, both of these executive orders came out as part of the Cybersecurity National Action Plan, which the administration dropped at the same time as their budget, more or less. So it was kind of a slew of executive orders, plans, budget, and it kind of makes sense that privacy would go hand in hand with the security efforts. The federal government collects a trove of personally identifiable and sensitive information, not only about the public, but about their workers. So what this executive order would do is it would establish a senior administration official for privacy at each agency, and then some agencies and departments already have a chief privacy officer. In that case, it would kind of change the requirements of the position. And then these officials would basically form the council that would work together to form a consensus around recommendations for government-wide privacy policies. They'd push those on up to OMB, and then OMB would potentially turn that into government-wide policy.
Interesting. Molly, Greg, stick around. We'll discuss cyber funding and the creation of a federal chief information security officer straight ahead on Government Matters.